powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Now, live from inside the Matt Black Kia Studios. This is Football at 4.
Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast, and it is brought to you by PropSwap, America's sports betting marketplace. Sell your sports bets and take your profit. Find out how at PropSwap.com or download the PropSwap app today. Geoff Mosher is here as we are less than a week from Eagles training camp getting underway. Tomorrow, the Dallas Cowboys, Pittsburgh Steelers, Tampa Bay Bucks will be on the field. And on Tuesday, the Eagles will be back. Geoff Mosher, what's going on, my friend?
How you doing, Mike? What's going on? I'm getting excited for training camp as well.
I am too. I am really ready for this because there's so much going on. We've chronicled a lot over the last couple of weeks of the summertime, some stuff that's happening. And I guess today there's a little bit of news out there. According to Eagles sideline reporter Howard Eskin, there's a great chance that Zach Ertz will be back. I don't know if that's huge news, but he kind of suggests that not only will he be back, that he will be there at the start of the season, which would kind of indicate, hey, he's going to start the season on this roster, it sounds like.
Yeah, and we've talked about that in the past week or so, Mike. This is not like a holdout when a player is disappointed with his contract and doesn't want to play under it. The money that Zach is going to make, $8.5 million, I believe it is on the books, is fine with Zach Ertz. That's good money for him right now. So he has all the reasons in the world to show up to training camp and to, collect the paycheck and see what happens and force the Eagles issue. I don't think anything has changed as far as the Eagles' plans for him. I don't think that they want him on the team, but they don't want to just give him up for nothing. And so if they're hoping that an injury results somewhere else, that they can deal Zach Ertz and get better value, fine, but how are you going to have Zach Ertz report to camp and not get him risk of injured in the process? Yeah. So I think the telltale sign will be when Zach Ertz reports to camp, what is he doing on the field compared to what everybody else is doing?
Well, I guess the part of Eskin's report that, I guess needs to be questioned, not questioned about his reporting, it's questioned on reading the tea leaves here, is Ertz is over the issues he had with the team after it was reported he wanted the contract extension. So essentially, Ertz is like, kumbayas, let's run this thing back, baby. Do you feel that seems to jive with you?
I certainly can understand Zach Ertz wanting to put last year in the past. It's hard to get by the image, though, of him and Jason Kelce and Carson Wentz in that season finale against Washington, just hanging out there for quite a while after the game, all probably pondering, what's going to become of their futures. And obviously Carson's not here. Jason Kelce is, but Jason Kelce's a starter. Jason Kelce got a new deal, more money. Zach Ertz, nothing changed. And this team has Dallas Goedert, and this coaching staff, this new coaching staff, wants to, create an offense that has a lot of yards after the catch guys with Devontae Smith and Jalen Reagor. And certainly Dallas Goedert is a guy they've talked about a contract extension with. He has said that. He is a good run after the catch tight end. So nothing to me has really changed philosophically in how Zach Ertz fits. And does Zach Ertz want to be a backup for this team? I would think not, because if Zach Ertz's plan is to play beyond this year, he's going to want to get on the field as much as possible and show his next team that he's still a pretty good tight end who's worth signing to a contract, a long-term deal after this year, or maybe not a long-term deal, but 2 or 3 for a decent amount of money. And being a backup doesn't really help you in that regard.
Well, right. I mean, so you're bringing up some interesting conversation here. Does Zach Ertz, all of a sudden, did he sit down with Nick Sirianni, and Sirianni says, hey, I have a great role for you, 8.5, don't worry about that, we'll take care of you, blah, blah, blah. Or is he just kind of in the way all of a sudden? I mean, does he become what Alshon Jeffrey was to Fulgham, but Sirianni is willing to play Goddard over him? I mean, I feel like this is an interesting crossroads here, don't you?
It's an interesting crossroads, and I see the Alshon Jeffrey comparison a little bit. If he's on the team, how do you shoehorn?
It looks like we lost Moshe for just a second here. I know, we got bounced out, so that's what happened. You don't have to yell at me. I can see it right in front of my face. We'll try to get Moshe back here in just a second here on the Sports Bash Live 97.3 ESPN as Football at 4 the report today from Eagles sideline reporter Howard Eskin saying basically that Ertz would be back, but that now brings a bunch of levels to the onion. Let's peel the onions off a little bit if we can reconnect with Geoff Mosher here in just a second, which would be, is this a Fulgham situation from last year where he essentially is, there he is. Mosher's just sitting there waiting for me. There we go. So
I don't know what happened there.
It was on our end. It was
okay.
on our end here, which is rare. This is the first time we've ever got just completely bounced out like that. The fact that you were mentioning the situation between Jeffrey and Fulgham, is this going to be a similar situation? But does Sirianni handle it differently?
Yeah, but I think that last year was just a terrible year where they did start off the year with Super Bowl visions and Alshon was hurt. And I don't know why they felt, I guess, because of the money that he was making, that they had to play him, even though they were well out of it. Well, they really weren't statistically out of it, but nobody really thought that they were going to do anything last year. I can't even imagine them wanting to repeat that same mistake and going through with it this year. I really do feel like this thing is going to have to reach a different conclusion sometime in the next few weeks than just keep him on the roster and see what happens. It just does not make schematic sense. It doesn't make financial sense. It doesn't make where the Eagles are in their development sense right now. Nothing about it makes sense.
Right, and not to mention, can you say, look, Zach Ertz is a great player and that he can help you this year? Sure, he's going to make but it's like you already have Dallas Goedert. Are they going to run it too tight on offense? Does he clunkify? Is that a word? Clunkify the offense?
You know what? Shakespeare made up a lot of words in his day, Mike. So if you want to put yourself in that company, that's fine. You're Shakespearean with that. I do think he clunkifies the offense because, again, I believe that this staff wants to have a nice vertical run after the catch type of offense, and they want to obviously go forward with Dallas Goedert and put him in that spotlight. He's going to be your number one tight end, and that makes it very clunky for Zach Ertz. But let me also add that while we talk about the Eskin report, it seems to reek of positivity, right? Like a kumbaya of sorts. And if only there was some recent historical precedent that we could go to where the Eagles were saying one thing about a player that they wanted to move on in the media, but the different thing happens. Oh, wait, it was probably just February where Howie Roseman said he could not imagine Carson Wentz being on another team, and he was like fingers on a hand. You just can't imagine not having them. And then all of a sudden, poof, Carson Wentz was traded. So just take everything that you see with a grain. And I'm not saying Howard's report is wrong because It doesn't really say anything that's illogical. He's going to show up. It makes sense that he should show up. But I'm just saying, I would not interpret it as everything is now different. I think it's the same situation.
Yeah, in the report, Eskins tweets that Ertz is over the issues that he had with the team from last year, which, it says he's been working out in the team facility for close to the last 2 weeks with teammates. Did he just get around everybody and decide, you know what, did Giannis inspire him last night to the point he's like, I want to win where I was drafted? You know what I mean? This seems to be, but sometimes, like you say, it's a lot of positivity, and that would come from the team. But what if Ertz didn't jive with that? If he was like, what are you talking about? I'm not over the issues. I want my contract. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but it works in Zach's favor to also put on a good face about this and work with the teammates and not make a stink because, if you're trying to send a message to other teams that you're not just he's not getting cut and he's not going to be available for nothing, then you try to present the picture of a guy who's completely fine and the organization's good with it. They've got to work together on this if it's going to happen. And, Zach has probably come to grips with and gotten over is the fact that Howie's just not going to cut him and get nothing for it. So he could make a big stink about it and it could get ugly, but that's not going to change or make Howie want to cut him anymore.
You don't think that he got a bruised ego, do you? That, hey, nobody wants me, or I'm only being offered for a 6th or 7th round pick, so I'll just stay here and prove everybody wrong. Or I'll try to produce and see if I can get myself traded by halfway through the season.
No, I still think he thinks something will happen before the season. But at this point, you have to stay in shape. You have to be ready. You've got the resources here in Philadelphia, and it's not like he ever had any issues with his teammates. So I think he's just doing what a player would normally do to stay in shape and be ready.
Right. Because you mentioned it. On the season finale, basically, he's sitting on the sideline. He has this postseason press conference. saying that he doesn't want to be traded, but he kind of reads the writing on the wall. You've had all these reports throughout, hey, something could happen. The draft comes and goes. And then they're not in a rush. Oh, we're not just going to give him away for nothing. And then the next thing you know, I think you guys were the ones that reported that the Eagles would possibly move him by the end of the draft. And then the next thing you know, he decides to skip the voluntary workouts, and here we are. And then now all of a sudden he's happy. This one seems like it could still have a bunch of different – this is like the Truman Show, trying to figure out how to get off that island.
Yeah, honestly, if it's a it should feel like a typical Eagles story. I mean, we kind of went through a similar ordeal with Wentz. Are they going to trade him? It seems close. Then it was like that agonizing week before it actually happened, and people started to believe it wasn't going to happen. This is part and parcel with the Eagles.
Another thing is, Moshe, okay, so you ask yourself, what did Ertz realize in this situation? What hit him? Did his agent call around and realize, I'm not getting you any more offers, dude. 8.5 is the best you're going to get, and it's here in Philadelphia.
Yeah, that's the question. I mean, 8.5 seems not so bad right now. Maybe a year and a half ago he wanted more, but for being a backup tight end, that's a pretty darn good price tag, right? I mean, $8.5 million to, play 30% of the snaps. Who knows what the plan would be, is not bad. The question is, does he want out so bad that he's willing to restructure his deal? I probably wouldn't want to do that if I were him, right? Because if you take, first of all, you don't want to take a pay cut. Secondly, you want to still just have 1 year left and not have a team kind of kick money down the road like the Eagles do, because then they have money on the books that you're responsible for. So they may want to keep you, and you may want to just be a free agent next year. So it's a difficult situation where he wants to make 8.5 because he could get hurt and never get a chance to make any of that money again. But he doesn't want to spread that. I'm not speaking for him. I wouldn't want to have my money, my 8.5, kind of spread out over somebody else's books where they have the ability to retain me in 2022 and 2023, because I want to be a free agent again, hoping I have a good year and make more than $8.5 million.
Well, I guess the thought process for both sides here, and this is risky, is that he plays well in maybe limited reps or whatever role they give him, and then teams start calling for a trade.
That's the risk of it, and we'll see if it gets that far. I'm skeptical of it. I don't believe it'll get that far. If I'm wrong, I will be the first person to admit it.
Sure.
I have to take into account that this is a man who almost died on the football field, 3 or 4 years into his career in that training camp where he had that punctured lung thing that almost touched his heart, right? I mean, so I don't blame him 1 second for wanting to collect every single cent that is on his contract.
Well, we had heard, John Clayton was on with us way back towards the draft and said, yeah, Seattle's interested, but they're not giving up a 3rd or 4th round pick, which is what Philadelphia fixated on. So I guess there is a point that somebody would be interested. Now, the 8.5, I guess at this point, is a problem for teams because they're into training camp and their books are pretty much set. That's where I think the rub comes on making a trade at this point.
I would agree with that. It becomes complicated, but as we have seen with the Eagles, with other teams, there's way to free up money. And there's way to free up money and also ensure that, if you're doing some kind of contract restructure, that, you're guaranteed after this first year that you're not going to be on the team the next year, and have that kind of, made very obvious in the contract. So there's ways it can be done. I mean, look, we know that the Eagles had some pretty extensive talks, and deal was almost done around the draft. So we know it can be done.
No doubt. Geoff Mosher, Football at 4. Something to keep an eye on because obviously Ertz is a highly popular player. He was a highly productive player for the most part. And what's to say he doesn't come in here and is Zach Ertz again? That's another thing that we're not considering maybe.
Yeah, I'm of the mindset that Zach is probably not as bad as people think he is now. I mean, I watched a lot of tape last year in the first few weeks before he got hurt. I thought that there were some opportunities where he could have made big plays and the ball just either didn't come to him or was not thrown very well. So, but the tape did show also kind of some difficult body language, a little slowing, which may have been from the ankle. I mean, I'm not saying he's a guy who can still catch you 90 balls a year like he was doing a few years there. But I certainly think for some of those teams that you mentioned, Mike, like Seattle or New England or Baltimore likes 2 tight ends. This guy could be a very serviceable number 2 tight end and probably make some big plays for you on third down when you need him.
Yeah, and I mean, I know we all love to be the armchair GM and look at, hey, Arizona needs a tight end and they have Jordan Hicks. Why don't you just call them and make a swap? Or, I know New England signed a couple tight ends in the offseason, but, Zach Ertz, it's tough to top what Zach Ertz could possibly bring, and Gilmore wants to get out of there. Or, hey, what about Howard down in Miami? They've got Gesicki down there, but, hey, that seems unrealistic, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, probably, but you never know. I mean, you would think if it was easy enough to do player for player, then maybe it would be done by now. So,
I guess
you don't see too many of those trades anymore, player for player.
We go back to the, and everybody's kind of thinking that this might be how they fixed the corner situation, the Jordan Matthews for Ronald Darby trade that they made in 2017.
But that was really a third-round pick for Ronald Darby with Jordan Matthews kind of as the throw-in. To be fair, I mean, look, I know that bothers people, but that's the reality of it. It was Jordan's last year of his deal, and so that meant he was a rental for a year, and he was only a certain type of receiver. I mean, that's like, the Eagles traded Marcus Robinson and a fifth-round pick for Michael Bennett, right? It wasn't going to get done with Marcus Robinson alone. Obviously, Seattle wanted draft compensation. So maybe something can be worked out with Zach Ertz and another player, but there's probably going to have to somewhere be some type of draft compensation involved.
I would imagine that yesterday's tweet from Steven Nelson hasn't been rectified yet. Has he signed today or tomorrow?
No,
Did you see that tweet?
He deactivated his account, right, and then reactivated it with the deleted tweet.
Well, he tweeted today or tomorrow. It was something to that effect, like today or tomorrow, stay tuned.
Right.
And I didn't see any follow-up. I'm imagining he didn't sign yesterday or today.
Well, what happened was, I don't know if you noticed, but he deactivated his Twitter account. And everybody was like, what happened? And then he reactivated at some point today, and then he deleted that tweet. So that tweet is no longer viewable.
Right, and he was following the Eagle. He had followed the Eagles.
Yes. So, listen, I have nothing other to report on this other than I would say he probably thought he had a deal with somebody and it was going to happen. And then maybe it kind of fell through at the 11th hour there and the money wasn't what he thought and yada, yada. I'm just speculating here, but I don't know what else would cause a guy to put the flag up, like saying something's going to happen. And then all of a sudden his account is deactivated.
I love how we have to read the tea leaves on people's social media accounts to try to figure out what possibly could happen. Hey,
almost as bad as Ben Simmons' workout videos.
Yeah, on his birthday, no less, right? Happy birthday! I'm in the gym. Don't question me.
That's right.
Over at InsideTheBirds.com, you and Andrew have been debating different storylines. So the latest one is the backup running back spot. Which team were you on?
So it's strange because my I think from a talent level, I would say Team Kerryon Johnson. There's a reason he was a second-round pick and he has had success. But there's something about Jordan Howard's ability to appeal to no other team but the Eagles, who keep trade for him, bring him back, brought him back last year after averaging 1.2 yards per carry with Miami. That makes me think that they see something in him. They like him in the locker room, or there's just something about him that they feel is better off here. And of course, Kerryon has to stay healthy. That's been an issue for him. So while I would want to be in the Kerryon Johnson camp because I think he's the better overall player, there's something about this competition that makes me think at the end of the day, Jordan Howard's going to live again.
And then Boston Scott's in there with the rookie fifth-round pick. What the heck's his name?
Kenneth Gainwell.
Kenneth Gainwell. So
listen, this is a guy who's got a really good chance to not only make the team but compete early on as long as things don't overwhelm him. We see that with rookies. They have great camps, right? Then they go week one. Miles Sanders had that issue his rookie year for the first few weeks. But I just know that the team was really fond of what they saw of him, even in the relaxed kind of OTAs. And they've got plans for him if he can handle the workload.
Geoff Mosher, Football at 4 here on the Sports Bash Show. When we talk to Geoff next, it will be the eve of Eagles training camp, and we will take a look at it all. Tomorrow, Adam Kaplan is here. On Friday, Andrew DeCecco previews the NFC East. And then the next time Andrew is back, it will be the start of Eagles training camp. It is here, Geoff Mosher. It is here. And by the way, the Eagles open up the preseason on Thursday, August the 12th. So that is almost here as well. Geoff, all right, man.
We made it through another offseason. Still managed to talk football every day. It's amazing, right?
It's unbelievable. It really
Unbelievable.
is.
All right, have a good one.
At Geoff Mosher NFL, yes, football at 4 every day, 4 o'clock.